Hello students, today we will do your theme 6, that is Bhakti-Sufi traditions, changes in religious beliefs and devotional texts, 8th century to 18th century. Firstly, let's know the meaning of the word Bhakti. Bhakti refers to the theistic devotional trance that emerged in medieval Hinduism. So the word Sufi is someone who believes in the kind of Islam known as Sufism. Bhakti movement kan ti chuan Hindu saint mithiang hlim sakhawi tena an sakhot rin dan siam tharin le an pathian biak na atanga chandam na kong in zirtir kha an tumber chu ni khati hun lai khan Hindu sakhwa khanin harna thleng ti na ni chu chuan Hindu ho ina bhakti chu Hindu ho ina ril ru le ti tak seta an pathian biak Vishnu emo Shiva khani. Historians classify these bhakti traditions into two broad categories: nirguna, without attributes, and saguna, with attributes. Nirguna bhakti chu pathian biak bik an nei lo ane. Saguna bhakti chuanin pathian biak bik an nei ane chu. In the 16th century, Bhakti movement were led by Alvars chu tu tenge devotees of Vishnu. Devotees kan ti chuanin sakholama in pemi Vishnu hnung zui tu te kha Alvars ania, and Nayanars were devotees of Shiva followers teni. They traveled from one place to another singing Tamil devotional songs. Okay? And this Bhakti movement in Hinduism refers to ideas and engagement that emerged in the medieval era on love and devotions to religions, and this Bhakti movement preached against this caste system, using these local languages so that the message could reach the masses. And the leaders of this Hindu revivalist movement was Sankaracharya, a great thinker, and he was a distinguished philosopher. Okay? Bhakti movement chu ron lar chho zelin an ngai tuana le an be ber kha mithiang hlim tena an ngai tuana an ngai tua sa khomi tena an ngai tua ber chu sa kho sang tena an pathian biak khani, and this caste system kha an du lo an do bokani chuan Bhakti movement mu chuak tu chu Sankaracharya hi ne. And next we go to a mosaic of religious beliefs and practice. The Bhakti movement, Islam, and the Sufi movement play an important role in the history of this medieval India during the 8th and this 18th century. Historians suggest that there were at least two processes. One was the process of this disseminating Brahminical ideas. Let's see this, the integrations of cult. The integrations of cult means that there was compositions and preservations of these Puranic texts in simple Sanskrit verses. Explicitly meant to be accessible, means to women and these Sudras also, who were generally excluded from these Vedic learnings. Okay, integrations of cult. Kan ti chuan chuanin in clear shanna a omlo tinani chu. And this mosaics of these religious beliefs and practice ati an sakhorin na le an chin trin integrations kan ti chuanin unity of things in pum khatna tinani cult kanti chuanin sakhorin danemo biak dan tinani mo integrations of cult ta khachuan in clear shanna omlova chuanin khati hun lai khanin meichia nu naw ho kha vedic zirtirna kha andong velawani ma se integrations of cult ta khachuanin tu te mei po kha an leng vek ani chu and now we see these differences and conflict. There were conflicts during this 8th and 18th century because between the different methods of worship to attain state grant, land grant, that is worship of goddesses. Forms of this worship of goddesses were often classified as tantric. Tantric practice were widespread in many parts of the subcontinent. These practices are open for both men and women. Okay. An pathian biak dana khan ngai dan in an lo na le du dan in an lo na wang khanin buaina achuak ve thin tinani chu a then Saivism ringpol an oma a thenin Buddhism an tuitlat an oma ni mo khtiam kha awang khanin nge sa khushang shang rindan nge du kal du dan in an lo na wang khanin buaina achuak ve fo thin tinani chu and next we go to poems of prayer, early traditions of bhakti. The Alvars and Nayanars of Tamil. The Alvars and Nayanars were the Tamil poet saints who played a key role in propagating this bhakti, and these Nayanars were a group of 63 saints devoted to Lord Shiva who lived during the 16th and the 8th century. And the Alvars were Tamil poet saints of South India who exposed devotions to Lord Vishnu or his avatar, Lord Krishna, in their songs of longing and services. Okay. Alvars le Nayanars te hi Tamil lapua thiam an mithiang limte ania bhakti thedar konga mi poimo tak anni thedar tu te anni tinani chu chuan Nayanars te hi mithiang lim somruk pathum thlan chhuah ni in an hun pum Lord Vishnu tan anin pe anin hlana 16 to 18th century lai vel khan an lar hle ani chuan Alvars ve thung hi chu South India om Tamil lapua thiam an mithiang hlim te an nia an pathian Lord Vishnu a chanchin kha soi fe in an hun pum Lord Vishnu tan anin pe ani okay. Attitude towards caste. Some historians suggest that the Alvars and Nayanars initiate a movement of protest against this caste system and the dominance of these Brahmanas, or at least attempt to reform the systems. Caste system hi tha an tilawa an pai thathei lo ani point alo pera kha system kha siam that an tum tlat ani. And next we go to this women devotees. One of the most striking features of these traditions was the presence of this woman. Meichia te pon participate. Devotees kanti chuan sa kholama in pemi tinani meichia te pon omve tinani chu the compositions of this andal a woman alvars were widely strung here, and this andal shows herself as the beloved of this Vishnu. Her verses express her love for this deity, and another woman, Karaikal, Amalir, a devotee of this Shiva, adopted a part of this extreme asceticism in order to attain her goal. Her composition was preserved within these Nayanar traditions. Okay, meitse apokhan bhakti tan an hun nan peveti na ni cho a chen phei chu tunge soi hi karai kal amalier phei chu nge asceticism kha extreme asceticism kha a bei hial ani omzia chu asceticism kan ti chuan sa kholama in thunun na sa ti na ni mani she om tuar pha hial khop khan atum agol a thlen theina tur khanin nge ama kha in tina top tina ni chu chuan next we go to this relations with the state, relations between the state and the bhakti traditions, that is the vast and imposing temples of this Lord Shiva in this Chidambaram, Tanjavurs and these Gangaikunda were built with the helps of these Chola rulers, and the temples of this North Indian, especially this empire, the worships of this Vishnu and Shiva, all these temples were basically built with the helps of the rulers. Okay, to sum it up, we can say is that there was good relations between the state and this Bhakti movement. Okay, and next we go to Virashaiva traditions in Karnataka. This Virashaiva movement began in Karnataka in the mid-12th century, led by a Brahman called Bashavana, and his followers were known as Virashaivas, heroes of Shiva or Lingayats. Main teachings of Virashaiva, let's see. He advocate Nirguna Bhakti. Okay, Nirguna Bhakti kan ti khay nge ni kha. Bathian biak bik an nei lo ani. He firmly repudiated kan ti chuan phatnol enge rejected this religious practice like sacrificed, ritual births, idol worships, and this austerity. Omzia chu sacrifice in thoi na sa khorong bol na chi sang milem pathian biak na khatiang te kha sa khodan khir le khau tak khatiang chi kha atu lo ti na ni chu athnol ani chuan he rejected the scriptures of both these Hindus and the Muslim ati. Scripture means the sacred writings of this religion other than this Christianity mo an sa kho inzir tirna bu kha ni mai Bible ni lo. Okay, and next we go to religious ferments in North India. What is religious ferment? Religious ferment means agitations and excitements among a group of people, typically concerning major changes and leading to troubles and this violence. Okay. Many of these new religious leaders questions the authority of these Vedas and express themselves in the language spoken by these ordinary people, which developed over centuries into the one used today. And next we go to these new strands in the fabric Islam traditions. And another new elements in this situation was the coming of these Turks, which culminated in the establishment of this Delhi Sultanate in the 13th century. And in North India, this was a period when several Rajput emerged. Brahmanas occupied positions of this importance, performing a range of these secular and rituals functions. This seems to have been little or no attempt to challenge their positions directly. And at the same time, other religious leaders who did not function within these orthodox Brahminical frameworks were gaining ground. This includes the Naths, Yogis, and these Siddhats. Okay. Sa khushang shang ronin chawin na satakin an ron chok buai chho chan ta ni 13th century a khanin Turks hoan lo luta Delhi Sultanate an ron din ani chuan North India khan Rajput hoin an lalram an ron zau ve boka kan hria tur chu Rajput ho hi lal hnam an nia Indo hnam an ni bok ani mo North India po hianin din hmun poimo tak an ron luat chhovin chutiang chuanin nun phung le sa khobiak dan le an biak te kha aron danglam chho chan ta ni there is a religious ferments in this North India okay chuan sa kho sang sa kho shwai tu thar nge nuts kan ti te jogis kan ti te siddharths kan ti te kha an ronin lar chan ve bok ani. And next we go to new strands in the fabric Islamic traditions. From the 17th century, with the advent of this Islam, the northwestern regions become part of what is often termed as this Islamic world. So in 1711, an Arab general named Muhammad bin Qasim conquered Sindh, which became a part of this Ghalib's domain. And Muslim rulers were to be guided by the ulama who were expected to ensure that they ruled according to this Sharia law. And rulers often adopted a fairly flexible policy towards their subjects. Several rulers gave land endowment and granted tax exemptions to these Hindu, Jaina, Zoroastrian, Christians, and these Jewish religious institutions, and also expressed their respect and devotions towards these non-Muslim religious leaders. Okay. Islamic Kovel ka rondang lam chauzelin 711 akhan Arab general Muhammad bin Qasim Khan Sindh ka aron opta ni chuan Muslim hruai tu te chu ulama in anin kai hruai tur ania chuan Sharia law Sharia danin ro an rel tur ani ti te lo ni chawa chuan an ro rel dan hi an ro rel dan ni se in thunun ol takin an duang ta ni khamia khan sa khushang shang in za ton na an keng tel boka Zoroastrian kan ti te Christian te Jewish poka kami Muslim tlalrama khanin an leng hal me ani an inza ton na an za em Christian te poka an za em me ni mo Muslim khovela khanin chuan ramte an pea thilpek te po an dong ve thin ani Christian te Zoroastrian te Jewish ho po khanin Muslim lalram kha a khanin inge zalen na an nei ve tinani chu. And the last, let's see this popular practice of Islam. All those who adopted or follow this Islam accepted in principle the 5 pillars of faith that there is one God, Allah, and Prophet Muhammad is his messenger's Sahada, offering prayers 5 times a day, namaz or salat, giving alms, zakat, fasting during the month of Ramadan, and performing the pilgrimage to Mecca. Names of communities. Let's see here. The term these Hindus and Muslim did not was not known for a very long time. These historians point out that the term Musliman or this Muslim was virtually never used. People were occasionally identified in terms of their region from which they came. Okay, the term this Hindu was used in varieties of ways, not necessarily restricted to religious connotations. Okay. Islam sa khwaina an chin le an ti fo thin tur langsar zwal pangate mo zwal te chu Islam thurin bulpui ber pangate kha an zom nge turania chuan zol nei Prophet Muhammad ahi an sa kho zirtirna palai ania an in zirtir na chuanin ni khata voi nga tal an tong trai tur ani ti te mire thei te tran pui te chuan ramzan ni a hianin chaw ngeiin an tong trai thin tur ani ti te chuan kum khata voi khat tal an hmun thiang hlim an tlaw ngei tur ani heng te hi an ti ngei muslim sa khaw zawm an ni chuan they have to do it by hook or by crook okay chuan hindu ti te muslim ti te hi atira chuanin an hmang ngai mia lo ani hindu mi le sa muslim mi le sa engtinge anin thliar dan engtinge nin thliar an khawtlanga khanin anin nge mi le sa chumi mi le sa tin anin thliar ngai lo ani chu arambung khan anin thliar top thin tin ani chu khati zong kha voina kan zir thei chu nia thank you all